Are you tired of chasing your wife and she's not really responding, or she kind of maybe runs in the other direction, at least from an emotional level, or you're pursuing and pursuing and pursuing and you're just like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. And it comes from like this place of like this need from us to want to connect with our wives, and we're trying so hard to do it, and we're trying to do all the right things. It's like the flowers and the cards and the notes and like all this other stuff, and then we try to push for intimacy and it just doesn't work. It falls flat, and it's just like, I don't know what to do. And it comes from like this place of this great need from us that we want to connect with our wives. But what we don't really realize is it comes from also a place of being needy and desperate. And yours truly, that's right, you're in the right place, guys. My name's Larry Hagner. I host the Dad Edge podcast. I host the Dad Edge Alliance community. And I will tell you, I was that guy too. And still to this day, I fight that guy here and there. But I'll tell you, we are doing, this 4-part series in the month of June, all around this Magnetic Masculine Energy series. And I'll tell you, week 1, we really exposed the resentment that your wife might be feeling and like how that just silently erodes our relationships. Week 2, we really pulled back the curtain on the emotional load that she's carrying and how it's kind of invisible to us. And quite frankly, our mental load and the invisible labor that we're doing and how that's invisible to her and how that kind of breeds resentment in our relationships. And then last week, we stepped into what it means to have masculine strength. And again, I really prefaced that last week's episode with there's a lot of really bad terms and toxic terms around there around alpha male and masculinity and toxic masculinity and all that. But if you really understand what masculinity, positive masculinity is all about, it's the calm, it's the strength, and it's the presence and the intention and the confidence. That's really what this is all about. In week 4, we're going to bring this all home to becoming that man that not only she respects again, but we respect again. And it's hard for us to respect ourselves when we're chasing, and it just falls flat. And let me tell you guys, man, I know exactly what you're feeling if you're in that camp, because I've been married for 22 years. And at least for the first half of our relationship, if not until about 10 years ago, I was doing all of these things that we've been talking about all month long. And I could not understand like what is going on. Like I just didn't get it. I just didn't understand the dynamics of marriage. I didn't understand the dynamics of the communication and the connection. I didn't understand her needs and how to fulfill those. And the other thing too is like, I kind of thought she was like, she should be a mind reader and understand what my needs are without communicating them. And then I would get resentful. And then it just turned into this horrible, resentful relationship between me and Jessica that we were barely having sex. We were barely like touching each other. We felt emotionally and physically disconnected from each other. And here's the crazy thing, man. Here's the craziest thing is that I just tacked it up. Well, this is marriage. This is what everyone told me marriage is, and this is what it's all about. And I will tell you, I can say this with all confidence, no matter how long you have been married. I was married for 15 years before I started kind of learning this stuff. And it's only really been the last 7 years I've really dialed it in. I would say the last 5 years that I've really, really understood it, and I've been teaching it to my one-on-one clients. We've been teaching it to the guys in the business boardroom, in the Dad Edge business boardroom, as well as the guys in the Alliance, and they're getting it now. And I wish I would have known this information way before. And the other thing too, because I would have implemented it and I would have changed early on. And the other thing too is that we kind of like listen to all these naysayers of like, yeah, the longer you get married, the worse it gets. The longer you get married, the less sex you have. The longer you get married, you're just going to be strangers, and that's just the way it's going to be. And I will tell you, that doesn't have to be our fate. That doesn't have to be our future. I am living proof of that. My clients are living proof of that. And the guys who do life with that, they are living proof of that as well. And I'll tell you, it just comes from us stepping into learning this stuff. And if you're here listening to this podcast, that means you're eager to learn this stuff too. And really, quite frankly, the conversations that I like to have on these solo shows is I kind of imagine myself like lost 10 years ago, and I'm where I'm at now, which is by no means I'm perfect, and by no means do I get this right every single day, but holy cow, life is 180 degrees different and in the positive way. And it's much more good than it was bad. It's 80% good, 20%, I'm still a little lost. When it was the other way around, I was 80% lost and it was 20% good here and there. So I position these podcasts on Friday almost as if I'm having a conversation with myself, my younger self, like, 20 years ago when I kind of first got married, and be like, dude, like, brother, like, I see you, I feel you, I know what you're going through. And if I could give you any advice, or if I could give you any ways to just completely rewire this whole thing called marriage and actually create the marriage of your dreams, this is what I would tell you to do, man. So that's why this series, I've loved this series, giving you guys all this gold in the past 3 weeks. And now today, for our final Friday in June, is because, man, I know desperately what it feels like to want that relationship with your wife. Like, if you could rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being like the best it could possibly be, 1 feeling like, oh my God, this is completely terrible. And I would even tell you that early on in my marriage, man, I was like in the negative. I'm like, man, today it feels like a -3, right? And that is so defeating. It's so defeating. And even if I can help you guys, if you're at a 1 right now, if you're like, dude, I can't even imagine like what it would be like to be a 5, like that just seems impossible. You know what? Let's get you to a 2. Let's just get you to a 2 today, right? I want you to go back after you listen to this podcast, go re-listen to the last 3 here in June around this series around attracting your wife back in, and all these things, that all these pitfalls and these bear traps that we fall into that, quite frankly, we just don't see. And everyone around us, here's the other thing too, the people that we surround ourselves with. I used to have these naysayers and these bad friendships in my friendships of like, yeah, man, my wife's like that too. She's just an old lady. All she does is complain and nag me and all this other stuff, blah, 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 blah. And if you want to, you might as well just go check out something on the internet if you want your needs met, or if you want to go look up porn or do this other thing, because you ain't going to get it at home, man. It just ain't happening. You've been married for 10 years. It's not going to happen anymore. If you have people like that speaking into your life, I'm just going to tell you this bluntly, guys, find a new circle of friends. Find a new circle of friends, because the life that we live and the people that we allow into it and the people that we allow to speak into our lives will become the life that we becomes. And I am living proof of that as well. I started changing my circle 10 years ago, and it's been the most fruitful thing that I've done, is changing that circle. This is why I developed the Dad Edge Alliance. This is why I developed, the Dad Edge Business Boardroom. This is why I have one-on-one clients. It's because we need to have better conversations and strategies and skill sets, because all high tides will rise boats, right? And if you're hanging out with the low tides, if you're hanging out with the low frequency people that are telling you that this is impossible, I want you to look those people in the eye and say, I love you, I see you, but this is not going to be me moving forward, period. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to give you some much needed advice that I needed years and years ago about what it means to attract your wife back into you. Okay. Not chasing, but attracting her back into you. The first thing that we have to get clear on is how we actually reclaim ourselves. Because if we don't respect ourselves, if we don't think that we are something that we can like really lean into being confident and respecting ourselves and leading ourselves, well, she's not going to follow suit either. And I'll give you an example of this. Early on in my marriage, I really let myself go. I really did, because I thought like, well, when I get married, and I don't mean this by any offense, but I think it's a lot of pitfalls that we fall into as men. When we get married and we start having kids, we find ourselves literally in 2 places at all times. I'm either at work or with my family, period. I'm either at work or with my family, period. And while that's noble, what I will tell you, it's not necessarily attractive. And what I mean by that is we let ourselves go. Most men, when we get married and we start having kids, we start to not take care of ourselves anymore. And here's the thing. We do this from a very selfless place, because we don't think that we need to we can't give ourselves permission to take care of ourselves, because we got to take care of everyone else. That's the noble thing to do, right? I can't take care of me anymore. I got to take care of everybody else. I challenge you on that one. You can do both. In fact, you will do the other one of taking care of others if you're taking better care of yourself, and not because you hate yourself and not because you think you're just a piece of crap. It's because you actually love yourself that much to take care of yourself, because you know that the fruit of that is going to be that you can take care of others even better. Because when when our physical, mental, and emotional health, spiritual health is on point, our tank is full. And we can go a lot further on a full tank of gas than running on E or running on fumes. And if you guys are experiencing burnout, stress, overwhelm, I ask you and I encourage you, are you doing anything to take care of yourself? Are you doing anything to take care of your physical fitness? You don't have to have a six-pack to be a great dad. I'm not saying that at all. But just physically, are you just moving your body every day to just be a little bit healthier, right? Just a little bit healthier. Because what that does and what that results in, I'll just give you my 2 cents on this. You know, fitness has been a big part of my life for 30 years. I was a fat, overweight kid with no confidence, terrible in athletics. I didn't even become somewhat athletic until I was 19 years old. I graduated high school and into college, and I started taking better care of myself. So I know what it feels like to not walk around in this meat suit that we feel good in. In fact, just being real with you, man, I was bullied as a kid for being a fat kid. When I was walking around at the public pools, and the movie Stand By Me was really popular, and Lard Ass was there, and when he walked up to the stairs and before that pie eating contest, and everybody in the crowd was boom, baba, boom, baba, boom. Well, dude, that was me when I was walking on the side of the pool. Like, kids would be like, boom, baba, boom, Lard Ass. It was horrible. Freaking horrible, man. Like, I would come home from interactions with other kids at school, summer camps or whatever. I remember one time, and I'm not kidding, I was made fun of so bad one day, and I was beat up one day, and everything was fat ass, lard ass, you got man boobs, all these other things. I went into our hall bathroom. I think I was 12 or 13 years old. And I walked right past my mom because I didn't want her to see, like, literally how upset I was. And I freaking just lost it. I was so upset, and I'd been holding it in all day long, and I was just devastated. And here's another quick story. I'll never forget when my fitness journey really started turning around. My mom was dating this, actually it was a live-in boyfriend. This guy's name was Jeff. He was an absolute freaking nightmare. But one thing that Jeff was before he met my mom was he was a trainer, and he was a bodybuilder back in the day. So he really knew a lot about fitness. And as dysfunctional and as crazy as this dude was, he did teach me about fitness. But I'll never forget this. I was 15 years old, and I was at a high school dance. And it was like one of those mixers. And for all you guys who are millennials, you're probably like, what the heck's a mixer? It's really just when a high school hosts like a dance, like, it's not a homecoming or a prom, it's just a dance, just to get together, kind of like a social, and anybody from any school could come to it. You just had to buy a ticket for it. And I remember being at this dance at my high school hosted, and it was just this girl, and I just had my eye on her all night, and I was like, man, I just really want to ask that girl to dance. And then of course they wait to play the slow songs until like the last 3 or 4, dances of the night. And I don't know what it was in me that I got this courage to go up to her. And I asked her to dance, and I was so nervous, and I was so unconfident. And it's a lot like what we're talking about today. I didn't respect myself, and I'm not saying it was because of the way I looked. It was just because of all the internal dialogue that I had around who I was, and, this needy little kid who just really wanted a girlfriend and really wanted friends and really didn't want people to bully him and stuff like that. And I was carrying that kind of energy to all my interactions. And I'll never forget it, that they started playing Faithfully by Journey. And because now when I hear that song, I'm like, oh, I remember that part in the dance. So anyway, I go up to this girl, and it took every bit of courage I could muster to go up and talk to her. And I looked at her and I said, would you like to dance? And I just said, it was like, hey, would you like to dance? And like, it was that sort of almost like very little respect for myself and very low expectations that she would even say yes. And let me pause here for a second. I don't know if that hits any of you guys in your marriage right now, but I know for me, there was that 15-year-old boy that desperately wanted to have that relationship with my wife, and it wasn't really working at the time, and I couldn't really figure out why. And that was the kind of energy I was bringing to my wife, and I couldn't figure out why. I wouldn't say she was repulsed by it, but she wasn't attracted to it whatsoever. And I just couldn't figure out, like, I don't know how to attract my wife back to me. So anyway, back to my story here. I go and I ask this girl, and I'm like, hey, would you like to dance? And this girl, guys, she literally like kind of like stood back just a little bit. And she like literally looked me from head to toe once, head to toe twice. And then she just like kind of looked repulsed and she shook her head and she said, not a chance. And I will never forget that. I will never forget what she looked like. I will never forget how she looked at me. I will never forget the feeling that I got. Like I felt like there was a freaking spotlight on me, man. Like of just like, I can't believe that just happened. I felt so dumb. And I'll never forget coming home that night and coming home to Jeff, my mom's live-in boyfriend at the time, who was just a jackass, to say the least. Very abusive man. Hated this guy. He was awful to me. He was awful to my mom. But there was one piece of gold that came out of that relationship, and that was I turned my fitness around that night. And it didn't happen in a great way. I'll never forget this. I sat on the couch and I sat next to Jeff, and it was late at night and my mom was asleep, and he's like, "Hey man." I was like, "Hey." And he goes, "Did you have fun tonight?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Why not?" And I was like, and I was ashamed. I didn't want to tell him what happened. He was already kind of a jerk to me, and I didn't want to add fuel to that. And so like, I'll never forget it. I said, "No, I didn't have a good time tonight." He's like, "Well, why?" I was like, "No reason." He's like, "Come on, man, out with it." Said something like that. And I just told him what happened. And he looked at me, and just in his purest, jackass form, he goes, "Uh-huh, yeah." He goes, I have one question for you. And I'm like, God, could this night get any worse? Like, God only knows what. And the guy had been drinking and everything. So I'm like, what is he going to say? And he goes, "Are you sick and tired of being a fat ass yet? Are you sick and tired of not respecting yourself? Are you tired of having no confidence at all?" And I was so offended. And I was so freaking hurt, man. And I was so pissed. But there was something in me. And I just said, and I looked at him dead in the eye and I said, "Yeah, I'm tired of that." And he shook his head and he goes, "Are you ready to change that?" And man, I did not know what was going to be on the other side of that yes. And let me pause for a second here. A lot of the guys that I coach, a lot of my one-on-one clients that come to me, they are scared just like that. Like they don't know what's on the other side of that yes. Like, dude, like what kind of work am I going to have to do to have the result that I want? What am I going to have to sacrifice? What kind of mirror is going to be shown in my face? What if it doesn't work? Right? What if I'm not successful? What if I actually am successful? What if I actually build a body and a mind that I'm really, really proud of? And how am I even going to do that? I don't even know what that's like. How am I going to manage that? Is that going to be weird for me? I know that all those questions might sound kind of odd, but for most of you guys, it might make total sense. It might make total sense. Because every single guy I've ever coached, I know when they're standing on that doorstep of that yes, they're like, "Oh man, this is a big step for me, dude. Like, this is going to be hard, and I don't know what it's going to be like." And I see you, I get that. But I said yes to it, and I didn't know what it was going to be like. He's like, "All right, we start tomorrow." I was like, "We start what tomorrow?" He's like, "I'm waking you up, and we're working out. And I'm going to teach you how to work out, and I'm going to teach you how to eat right. And we're going to build you a body that you're proud of and a mind that you feel confident in. How does that sound?" And for a second, I didn't know who the hell I was even talking to, because Jeff never talked to me like that. But I said yes to it. Over the next year, while that relationship did deteriorate between he and my mom, I did train with him for a few months, and he woke me up every day at 4:30 in the morning before school, and I hated every minute of it. Hated it. And when he trained me, I was so sore because I had never done weights like that. It was so much pain. But I saw my body start to transform. And then he and my mom ended up splitting up not too long after that. But I fell in love with this thing called fitness and this mission to just build a physical body and a confident mind at all times and at all costs, no matter what. But here's what I'll tell you. That turned into a 30-year journey into doing that very thing that one of the worst guys, one of the worst father figures in my entire life actually taught me. But here's back to the story of me getting married. I actually thought when I got married and when I started, especially when I started having kids, well, this kind of needs to go out the window now. I can no longer take care of myself. I have to take care of others. And what I found is I gained a lot of weight. There's actually, I came across a photo of me when I was in my early 30s, and I'm 50 years old as of next week. And I was fat. I was out of shape, and I let myself go. And you can actually see the confidence. You see that 15-year-old boy, like literally in my face. And actually, if you guys want, what I'll do is I'm going to put a picture of this in the show notes. And I'm wearing scrubs because at the time I just started in medical device sales, and I'd only been married a couple of years. But you can like literally see it in my face. There was no confidence. I wasn't proud of who I was. I had let myself go. And I'm not saying that you have to be fit to be a dad. But what I am saying is there's a mission and a mastery of one's self that we have to step into, that I had to learn the hard way. Reason I'm sharing this is because I don't want you guys to learn the hard way, is that I had to learn the hard way that what it meant to sacrifice myself for my family and for my work. And I thought it was like the most noble thing on the planet. And what I found is my kids weren't proud of it. My wife wasn't proud of it. I wasn't proud of it. And I was actually less productive in the workplace. I showed up not very well for my marriage. I didn't show up very well for my kids. I was less patient. And I was like, what the heck is even going on? I don't understand this. Like, I'm doing everything for everyone, and I'm not getting any fruit from this. Why is that? And that was the actual problem right there, is I was a man without a mission to respect myself. So here's what I'll tell you. The first thing that we're going to talk about today is live a mission that is more than your wife's approval. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is there are things that are very, very appealing to our wives. Yes, they want a family man. Yes, they want a great husband, but they also want a man that is proud of himself and they are proud of us, and that we have a mission outside of our marriage. And for some guys, it's like jujitsu, right? That's like their thing, right? It's martial arts. For some guys, it's their church, their faith. They really, really dive into the word, right? And they lead their family in such a way where it's their faith. For some guys, it's fitness, like myself, right? For some guys, it's building businesses, right? Or it's coaching others. That's another thing for me, a mission that's bigger than myself. Like the Dad Edge is a much bigger mission than just Larry Hagner. The mission of the Dad Edge and the movement of the Dad Edge is to equip men with the tools and the skills to help them basically rise to the men that we were created to be, and to give them the toolkit and the skills to do so. And that is my bigger mission, not just fitness, but that is my bigger mission. All of us who are listening to this show right now, I guarantee there's something inside of you. You want to do more, be more, give something back to the world. There's a mission in you that maybe you have forgotten about. And that could be several different things. And I encourage you to actually explore that. What is that mission that I've put on the back burner? Maybe it's that nonprofit that I wanted to start for veterans because I'm a veteran and I want to give back to somebody else. I have this friend of mine, Ben Kaloy, who started a podcast specifically for veterans who were transitioning from the military back into civilian life, because what he explained to me that I did not know is that transition is it's hard. Going from active military duty to veteran, man, that is a tough one, right? And a lot of us don't understand that. And my friend Ben built a podcast around that and helping men through that transition. And it was a mission that he was creating that was much bigger than him. And it gave him confidence in the fruit and all of these great things. And he was able to show up as a phenomenal father, phenomenal husband, because he was focused on a mission bigger than himself, even bigger than his family. And what I encourage you to do is to explore that, because here's what I'll tell you. Attracting your wife back into you. Women are attracted, our wives are attracted to a man who has a bigger vision and a mission other than just his family and his kids and even himself, but a mission to do something. And it can be big, it can be small, but it has to be something. So I encourage you to find that mission or rediscover that mission that goes beyond, I just need the approval of my wife. And I just need this from my wife, because they sniff that a mile away. And quite frankly, guys, it's not attractive to them. Like, I remember before I started this and kind of let myself go, and physically, mentally, emotionally, I didn't have that bigger mission or vision. I was like corporate guy. I just went to work, did my thing, came home, sat on the couch. Here's another thing too, I'll share with you. My God, I'm not even proud of this. And I think I've shared this on other podcasts, but I remember my wife driving to the top of our subdivision, and she would see this dad playing with his two little kids. And my wife just reminded me of this. She's like, you know, you were not, when the boys were little, when Ethan and Mason were little, like, and I'm talking like 5 and 3 years old, and you were the man that I'm talking about right now. She's like, I used to drive past that guy's house, and he'd always be out there playing with his kids. And I would think to myself, I wish I married a guy who wanted to play with his kids. That hurts, right? That hurts. But I didn't have that bigger mission. I didn't respect myself enough. I thought by me throwing myself on the sword of service, quote unquote, to my family and to my work was enough, without respecting myself, to have something for myself or have something bigger. So if you've got something, what I'll tell you, you will become more appealing, more attractive to your wife when you have a greater mission other than just family, just work. We're more dynamic than that, right? The other thing, here's my second point. Rediscover that man that she said yes to. I work with men all the time who have been married for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and they're like, I don't know what happened, man. I don't know when the wheels fell off my marriage. I don't know when she got so resentful. I don't really know why or how we stopped having sex. And I ask a man, usually I'm like, bring me back to your first date with your wife. Where'd you go? And you'll see a guy just light up, and they'll tell me, oh, we went here. Like, I took her to this park. We walked around. It was so beautiful. Or I took her out to this dinner place. I loved it so much. And I was like, okay, well, what was the conversation like? What did you talk about? What kind of energy did you bring? And you see the guy just like light up. He's like, oh man, I remember what she was wearing. She was so beautiful. She was this, she was that. Like, we talked about this. I asked her all these different questions. I was so curious about her. Like, I just couldn't wait to hear what she was going to say next. I couldn't wait to kiss her. Like, so when you stop being curious about your wife, when you stop being that genuine man that she said yes to, because here's the thing, a lot of the problems that we have in our marriage actually reside with us thinking that, well, I know everything about her and there's nothing more to talk about. There's nothing more for me to be curious about. That's not true. I've known my wife for 30 years, guys, 30 years. And I fall in love with that woman over and over and over again because she constantly changes. She's dynamic. People change and grow. If you've heard my podcast with Rudy Reekins, which, by the way, has become one of the most popular podcasts out there, he talks about how people are always actually supposed to change. Not necessarily our integrity and our values and those types of things, but we're supposed to change. We're supposed to evolve and grow and become a little bit more. And by the way, if your wife is still the same person she was at 21 as she is at 40, there's a serious problem. And by the way, if you're still the same guy at 38 years old that you were as 18, there's a big problem there. You've changed, you've evolved, you've grown, your interests have gotten different, right? There are different things that you're interested in doing and saying, but we label each other, well, I know everything about the other person. Not true at all. Not true at all. There are always things that we can learn about each other. And what I mean by that is rediscover the man she said yes to. Remember perhaps maybe how you were taking care of yourself. What were your priorities back then? What kind of energy did you bring to that type of interaction when you were first dating your wife? What type of questions did you ask? What were your eyes like when she would talk? Were you locked in or were you completely distracted? I guarantee on those first few dates, probably within that first year, you were like hanging on every word this woman was talking, right? So rediscover that man and that energy. And then the final thing is this. We all need to be better with habits, right? But building daily habits to basically rebuild our own self-respect. Like, listen, the longer we're married and the more time goes on and the more we kind of get in this rut of resentment and disconnection, we tend to lose self-respect for ourselves. Go look at the picture in the show notes today, guys. You'll see it. There wasn't a whole lot of self-respect that I had for that guy in that photo. In fact, truth be told, it's hard for me to say. I would avoid mirrors because I didn't want to see the guy staring back at me. I wasn't proud of that guy. I was somewhat proud, but I would tell myself I was proud, but I wasn't. But I will tell you, building daily habits are tremendous levers to pull when we're building self-respect and we're stacking wins. One of my most dearest friends, and he's been on the podcast now 3 times, Frasier Bailey. He's from Superhuman. And Frasier, he looks like an absolute cyborg if you go check him out. He's a vegan bodybuilder. You would never know it. He literally looks like he eats steak at every meal. But from a emotional and mental capacity of how that guy lives his life is absolutely insane to me, what he does. And this is what he does. If you look at Frasier, you look at his physique, you look at his business, you look at the things that he's got going on, you really actually see someone that you think is living a mistake-free life that doesn't have any issues or problems whatsoever, and that is not the case. Frasier said this to me, and I'll never forget it. Larry, every morning when I wake up in the morning, I start out in the lobby of the penthouse I start out in the lobby of the building of the penthouse that I want to go live in. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I have to stack daily habits and wins. I have levers that I specifically pull that get me to that mental place and even physical place where I know I'm operating at the highest level I can possibly be. But I start every morning in the lobby. I'm like, tell me more about that. He's like, dude, I start every morning with anxiety. I start every morning with this feeling of discomfort. What problems are lurking? Like, what am I going to do about it? And then I start to dial in my habits. And if you watch Frasier's story, he's religious about putting what he does on his story. That man wakes up, not that you have to do this. This one's been insane. He wakes up every morning at like 3, maybe even like 2:45. And he gets out and he starts moving his body. Immediately goes into his gym and he does like these crazy like kind of push-ups and breathing and stuff like this, like where he's going back and forth, not regular push-ups, but he's doing this type of breathing. And then he gets into his fitness regimen. And then he gets into like these other things that he does. I can't list them all, but like he basically, what I'm telling you is he pulls these levers of daily promises and habits that he makes to himself, and he does every single one of them. And then, you know, he's like, every time I pull a lever, I get more mastery, more confidence, more mastery, more confidence, more self-respect, all these different things. Boom, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm not reactive to my environment. I'm proactive to my environment. I know how to manage the things that come at me versus being reactive to the world around me. And by the end of the day, usually, or by midday, I'm in that penthouse because I've done the things that I said I was going to do. I've held true to the habits that I know that have made me successful. And I'm working on a bigger mission than just my marriage and just my family and just myself. I'm working on everything. So here's my call to action to you guys. We've talked a lot this month about marriage and about attracting your wife back in. And I hope today really, really hit a home run for you. And I want you to know again, I'm not a guy that preaches from the pulpit. I'm a guy that if you have felt any of this in your life, I'm sitting here telling you I have lived every single bit of it. I know the mental warfare that goes on in your mind and heart when you don't have the marriage that you want and you're desperately trying to figure it out. It's almost like here's what I tell all my clients, because they'll ask me, they're like, what is it like coming into the alliance? What is it like coming into the business boardroom? What is it like when you work with a one-on-one coach? And here's what I'll tell you, and I'll never forget a coach told me this. I can't even take credit for it. This is not mine, but this is what it felt like. I felt like when it came to my marriage or anything I wanted to do better, but we're talking about marriage, that I was in a dark room and I was desperately looking for the light switch, AKA like the answers or what to do next, right? But because I couldn't see, I kept stepping on like the Legos that my kids left in my office, or I kept tripping on the shoes that were in there, or I would stub my toe on the desk, or I would actually hit my face on the wall because I couldn't see it. And it was so frustrating. And all I kept doing in that dark office was guessing, where is this light switch? I don't know where it's at. Let me try here. Let me try this. Let me try that. Let me try this. This didn't work. When I remember jumping into my very first mastermind, and I work with a coach every single year myself for the past almost decade now. I hire a coach every single year just to help me with different things. What it feels like for me and for other clients is the coach is there in the dark with you, and they meet you where you're at. And they just kind of they just kind of like put their arm around you and be like, hey man, there's a huge Lego right to your right. Don't step there. Hey man, there's also a bear trap over there to your left, so don't step to the left. Here's what I want you to do. Take 3 paces straight forward, but stop, because you're going to trip on some shoes that are right there that you can't see. Then I want you to take 2 paces to your left and stop right there, because there's a giant toy that your kid left there that you're going to stub your toe on and twist your ankle. So stop there at step 2. Then I want you to take a right 4 steps and then stop there, because that's the glass door of your office. You can't see it, but if you hit that, it's going to mess your face up and you're going to break the glass. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to reach to your left, and you're going to feel the wall. And then I want you just to move your hand just horizontally more to the right, and there's the light switch, and I just want you to turn it on. That's what it feels like being guided through this. Someone is there in your darkness and in the pit. They know where you're at. They know where everything is because they've been there, but they know how to get you out of it. And that's what it feels like. So here's my call to action. If you're not ready for coaching yet, that's fine. If you're not ready for the alliance yet, that's fine. If you're a business owner and you're not ready for the boardroom, that's fine. And if you're into free stuff, I got that for you too. So here's what I got for you. I got 2 resources in the show notes for you. One is 21 Days to an Extraordinary Marriage. It's a free resource. It's 15 emails over 21 days. And basically what I do is I teach you 3 very simple skills in those emails. They're just emails. That's it. Just emails. And all I do is I teach you what to do in those emails. Some things to learn and some things to go do. And the thing that I ask you to do is reply to me in those emails, because I get those emails. They come back to me. And if you get a reply, I'm the one replying to you. I answer all my emails. The second resource I have for you guys out there, so that'll teach you some basic skills, and it'll give you a couple of to-dos. For my dudes out there who want to have better conversations with their wife, and they're just like, dude, I just don't know where to start, and I'm so tired of asking, how was your day? I've got a list of 25 intimate conversation starters for you as well in the show notes. That's a free resource. It also comes with some emails as well, but you'll get a PDF, and you'll also get a video training from me of why these questions are so effective. Okay. So what I want you to do is go over to thedadedge.com/Friday 214 for this show. Again, thedadedge.com/214 for this show. You'll see those resources in there. If you guys are ready for coaching, and if you're ready for the alliance or the boardroom, if you're a business owner, you can head on over to thedadedge.com/mastermind. We'll have a link in there for you too. But all these 3 links will be in there for you. And wherever you're at in your life, whether it's you want to tinker with some of this stuff, or whether you want to go full in, what I encourage you to do is do something, because nothing will get you nowhere. Nothing will lead to the road to nowhere. And all the things that we fear, and trust me, guys, am I going to lose my marriage? Is my wife not going to love me anymore? Is she going to be repulsed when we have sex? Like, am I only going to have sex with her once a month? Are we going to completely disappear or get divorced when the kids are out of here? All those fears that you're talking about that I know that I had just right along with you, pretty much guaranteed those will come true if you do nothing. So do something. Do something. That is my call to action to you. And by the way, if you have a friend or a brother out there who needs information like this, or this 4-part series podcast like this, simply forward it to him. Be like, dude, you were talking to me about so-and-so and your wife and everything going on. Like, check out these 4 episodes and see if it'll help them. That's my encouragement. That's my ask. I love you guys, and I know what it's like to not have the marriage of your dreams. I get it. And together, by learning, we can actually go build it. We can. We can absolutely do it. And I know you can do it. That's all I got for you, gents. I love you all. Thank you all for all the support. Go out. Live legendary, gentlemen.